And now the sequel you've all been asking for has arrived with Inheritance, a closer look, part 3. Doesn't look right. There we go. I write like a doctor. Jeez. Alright, so I apologize if you can't understand my handwriting. I will try to get better. So, the first of them is sex influence. This means that the traits, whether you have it or not, is influenced by your sex, and we have that these traits are determined by autosomal genes, and they're determined, they're inherited according to Mendel's principles, the postulates of Mendel, but they're expressed differently for each sex. They're expressed differently in males and females. An example is you can have higher penetrance, which is not what you're thinking. It's percentage of having a genotype that expresses a certain phenotype. Now, an example that we're going to go over is beards on goats. So the gene that we're going to use, the symbol that we're going to use for this trait is little b with a big B with a little b. Now, this is the allele at the locus that determines this trait. It's dominant in males and it's recessive in females. So in males, you only need one of this kind of allele in order to express beards, to have a beard. But in females, you need both of them because they're recessive. So we'll see on this table, genotype B+, neither of them have a beard. Genotype B+, B little b, the male will have the beard, the female won't. And genotype big B little b, we're going to have the males yes and the females yes. So we have higher penetrance for the males and a lower penetrance for the females. Sex-limited traits are an easier concept to grasp because it's a trait that only occurs in one sex. So these are traits that only happen in males or that only happen in females. Another important topic is that of cytoplasmic inheritance. In the cytoplasm of the cell, we have different organelles such as chloroplasts and mitochondria that have DNA. And this genetic information is also not only really important for the cell, but it's also passed on to offspring. This genetic information is passed in humans and from the mother to the offspring. In other organisms, it varies how that goes. But the reason why in humans and in most organisms it goes from mother to offspring is because typically the cytoplasmic organelles and all the cytoplasmic genes come from one of the gametes, which is the egg. So the sperm only contributes some of the nuclear genes, but typically the cytoplasmic genes are just inherited from the mother. But this isn't, it goes to both male and female offspring. There's a lot of phenotypic variation within cytoplasmic organelles. And you can see how that happens by the way they duplicate in certain numbers and the way cell division happens. So let's just show you. So this is a cell and it's dividing. And the red and the blue are different type of mitochondria. Let's say red is the normal, red is the wild type, and blue is the mutated version. So as they divide in this situation, in this scenario, they divide evenly at first, but then as they divide, and as in this case, the mitochondria replicate, then we start seeing that there's more phenotypic variety here we have mostly wild type, mostly mutated, all wild type. And these are like very creepy faces. But you see that that's basically the point of how these cells then get expressed and how they vary. And so when they're passed on, they're going to exhibit a lot of variation. So that's cytoplasmic inheritance. And as we continue into the world of inheritance to conclude this amazing trilogy, we're going to talk about genetic maternal effect. In genetic maternal effect, you get the genes inherited from both parents, but the offspring's phenotype is determined by the mother's genotype. An example here is with the snail Limenea peregrina. Here we have the mother and the father. The father and the mother, and the father has this kind of shape, dextral, and the mother has this kind of snail, this kind of shell shape, sinistral. So when they mate, they have this one, which is sinistral, but it's also plus S, so it's heterozygous. Now, this F1 generation undergoes self-fertilization, and all the children turn out to be dextral. We have 1/4 S plus S plus, 1/2 S plus S, and 1/4 SS. So what happened? All of their genotypes are different, but they still have the same phenotype, and this phenotype is dictated by the mother's genotype, not her phenotype. Another topic is genomic imprinting, and this one is a simple one. It's the same number of genes from mom and dad, but the expression is different depending on who you inherit them from. The next one is anticipation. Basically, it just states that as the generations go on, with each generation, the traits will be expressed. Anticipation dictates that the traits are going to be stronger or expressed earlier. This is a genetic phenomenon. It's not all the time. It's not explained by Mendel, but it's just something that has been observed sometimes, and it's still being researched. The final one is environmental factors. The environment has several effects on the genes. For example, temperature could have effects on the way your phenotype gets expressed while you're still being developed or whatever. That would be called an example of a temperature-sensitive allele. And environmental factors also play a role in several human genetic disorders, such as phenylketonuria, or PKU. And what this is, it is an autosomal recessive allele that causes an intellectual disability, and it comes about from defective enzymes that can't metabolize, and so that results in neurological damage. But this can be offset or reduce the chances of it based on environmental changes or a low phenylalanine diet. And so that's basically all for inheritance for now. And if there's a need for a video that targets a specific topic, then I shall do so.